Too many things going on to just talk about one, so let's rattle them all off. Even in regards to the big WW3 has already started declares, says the security chief. Did you know Apple lost $200 billion in 2 days? I'll tell you what's going on there. Some reports saying Mad Max days are coming. I'll explain that. Big win for old Bideno down at the border. Something just happened, which is going to make it a lot easier for more crowds to roll across the border. Power grid emergencies everywhere. So much that even a big state declares an emergency. And even another huge E. coli outbreak on a food you guys need to be aware of. More stuff you guys should be aware of coming right up. Welcome back. If you guys are brand new to our awesome community and like prepping tips, emergency preparedness how-tos, and news awareness, stuff you might not see on the big media, you find value in that, be sure to hit the notification bell so you guys can stay up to date. Let's jump into this one. Okay, so let's get through this list as fast as possible and get all the way to the end where I need to tell you about that E. coli outbreak in a food that a lot of you guys are eating. Big update saying people should expect more conflicts to break out. Haven't some of us already been wondering? I mean, we think things are all fine and dandy here in the States, but are we already in big number 3 in other places? This article titled WW3 has already started, declares Ukrainian security chief. Interesting. It's not what we hear over here, is it? It says the third one is already started and people should expect more conflicts to break out, Ukraine's top security chief declared on Tuesday. That was this week, and this was all said at the Kiev Security Forum alongside the former CIA chief. These guys said people that think that the Third World War has not yet started are making a big mistake. Furthermore, it's not just about relations between Ukraine and the big R. It's also a big mistake. Well, I can tell you what, a lot of us would agree with that. So this article basically goes over that big meeting and are saying that people need to start waking up. This is a bigger thing than people think it is. It involves way more than just those two countries. And to be warned, if this really kicks off, they're going to start using the big weapons, which is going to involve and affect everyone. Any of you out there have iPhones? Tech is a big concern these days. In the world news, which this topic's getting a lot of buzz because $200 billion is a big loss for Apple. And some of us might be thinking, how can you lose $200 billion in 2 days? Well, like this, China bans its government employees from using iPhone. Apple loses $200 billion in 2 days. China has banned the use of iPhones by the government employees due to concerns about Western spying through the iPhone, always-on microphones. Within 24 hours of the ban, Apple lost $200 billion in stock valuation. There is seriously a huge tech war going on, and it's not good. You know what would rattle a lot of our cages is take away our technology, because I mean, you see everyone all the time, they're glued. Some people might have to figure out what life's all about. Imagine if the US starts a war in the Taiwan Straits. Not only Apple's $3 trillion market value will evaporate, but much of the US stock market that's worth $45 trillion will also be gone. In one simple move, China basically proved that the enormous years-long effort the US put to destroy both Huawei and the Chinese semiconductor industry have been defeated. And this is already a thing, weaponizing industries. So as you all know, there's a race in the tech world. A ton of cyber altercations going on all the time. I mean, a lot of people are thinking, how much could things get worse? How far will this go? Could we be headed towards Mad Max scenario? New article by The Hedge, Mad Max conditions are coming. How far would you go to feed your family? Article starts off like this, and then I'm going to give you some facts. Hopefully that is a question that we will never have to answer anytime soon. But right now, we are seeing millions upon millions of people become more desperate as economic conditions rapidly deteriorate and food costs soar. We can all agree. At this point, most Americans are just barely scraping by from month to month. I hear that all the time. And in poorer countries on the other side of the world, they are people that are just literally starving to death. And that's a real reality for people that don't watch world news or don't travel around to see it for themselves. The UN has reported that 2.4 billion people did not have enough food to eat last year, and 900 million of them were facing several food insecurities. Sadly, those numbers have inadvertently been even higher in 2023. And it goes over different scenarios, the global rice crisis. And I know for a lot of us, that's hard to imagine because we don't necessarily deal with that kind of stuff that other countries are dealing with. But food prices have become extremely oppressive expensive and the economic conditions are quickly moving in the wrong direction. How many can 100% agree with that? In fact, leave me a comment down in the comments. What is something that you saw that the price was absolutely astronomical recently? 670,000 full-time jobs have been lost, and as much as they tell us how great the job market is, 670,000 full-time jobs have been lost in just the past 2 months. And on Friday, we witnessed the worst unadjusted payrolls report for the month of August since the Great Recession. Yeah, things are getting much worse. Some people think, well, less than half of us live paycheck to paycheck. In July 2023, 61% of the U.S. consumers live paycheck to paycheck, unchanged from June 2023, but 2% points higher than July 2022. Generally, more consumers of all income brackets reported living paycheck to paycheck in July of 2023 than last year. And this was told to Fox Business from an expert at Lending Club. And low-income earners, less than $50,000 a year, even worse. We're looking at 78% living paycheck to paycheck. Do you realize if things got much worse and you're living paycheck to paycheck, when does things become real? And what are people gonna do to survive? I don't think we can handle much worse. And here's one that might shock you. People that are earning north of 100 grand a year, 44% of those people reported living paycheck to paycheck. It's all across the board. And I know a lot of you know that the debt is in a bad place, but let me tell you a few numbers. Total household debt climbed to a new high in the second quarter of 2023, reaching 17.6 trillion, with a credit card debt exceeding 1 trillion. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, as interest rates stay high, costs continue to rise for expenses like housing, cars, student loan payments, and the amount of debt may rise, according to the economist who spoke to the Daily Caller News Foundation. And that's no joke. A lot more people are getting desperate and they're turning to a credit card, a loan. And guys, these rates, not good. More than one news article stating as economic conditions get worse, people are becoming more desperate. What do we see when that happens? More crime. This is helping to fuel a crime wave all over the nation, and retailers are being forced to implement extreme measures like this one. According to the Washington Post, a giant food store in Washington, D.C. is actually going to be taking all Tide, Colgate, Advil products off the shelves completely because theft has become such a problem. Well, anybody that's been watching this channel that haven't seen this video or that video would know you shouldn't be using that stuff anyway. Trust me, you better watch those videos and find out what's really in that stuff. But back to the point of that, they're taking not TVs, they're not taking iPhones off the shelf, they're taking consumer goods, essentials, stuff that people need from the day-to-day life. Another good reason to watch that video or that video because we have a solution for that too. It says desperate people do desperate things, and right now we are seeing things happen that are absolutely nuts. It's crazy that in publications, that's the kind of stuff that we're reading these days. I mean, did you hear what happened in California just the other day? Just a few days ago, an extremely shocking incident that happened in broad daylight at the Home Depot store in California made headlines all over the nation. Brazen thieves were caught on camera casually walking around with about $9,000 worth of goods from separate California stores as lawlessness continues in the state governed by Gavin Newsom continues. Yeah, no kidding. They had arms full, carried as much as possible, and casually walked out. Nothing happened. Hence, we really are starting to become a Mad Max society. Global food supply issues, huge storms, all kinds of export crises. Global leaders have been making absolutely disastrous decisions for a very long time, and now we are all about to reap the consequences. And that's kind of the moral of the story and what we see coming in the horizon. I mean, folks, we're heading into winter, which brings on its own amount of crisis. It never fails. We roll into winter, we've got crazy conditions, power outages. Watch. You don't think things are gonna get a little bit worse by this winter? I hope you're right, but the economists don't think you're right. And did you hear about this? As we roll into a possible new thing that could keep us at home like we experienced before, have to deal with a whole bunch more of this, which it's already starting, but so kind of us. At the same time, our kind leader allows anybody and everyone to come across the border. No restrictions, no precautionaries. Judge orders Texas to remove floating border buoys by next Friday in a win for Bideno. Now, if you don't know about these floating buoys, they were placed to deter more migrants coming across the border. I mean, how many millions is enough? Citing a threat to human life and safety navigation. U.S. District Judge David A. Azra ruled that the buoys likely required congressional authorization and a federal permit based on the Rivers and Harbors Appropriation Act of 1899. Man, they just want to keep that border open, don't they? For those of you that don't know, that floating barrier constructed in an attempt to obstruct movement across the river is made up of roughly 1,000 feet of 4-foot spherical buoys connected by heavy metal cables. So basically, you're trying to cross a river, you come to a 4-foot wall that's a buoy that you can't climb over. It definitely acted as a deterrent. Well, Friday, take them down, let them across. After already reaching some reports of millions and millions, this has deterred thousands and thousands of people coming across in that area. Now, I know a lot of you out there have been experiencing power outages. I have personal friends that have experienced them. We had that incident in Texas that declared an emergency. Still have lots of areas experiencing major power outages. So what you need to have on your radar is things are getting worse with the power grid. Right now, it happens to be a ton of people using their air conditionings due to heat waves, and the system apparently can't handle that. And I'll tell you what, that should be a surefire sign of how this winter is going to look. So if we're having problems like that now, you better expect a double down for this winter when everyone's running those heaters. And folks, dealing when it's freezing out, whole different ball game than when it's hot out. Now for that E. coli outbreak that I need to put on all your guys' radar. Anyone eat ground beef out there? Yeah, a lot of us do. Newsbreak reports E. coli discovered in 2,000 pounds of ground beef products, and food inspectors are concerned because they're already being served in restaurants. I'll tell you what, when it comes to beef, you guys want a safe option you do not have to worry about? We've got you covered, just in case you're looking for an option. U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Services, FSIS, has announced a recall on 1,835 pounds of fresh ground beef from the Dean and Peeler Meatworks, an LLC of Porth, Texas, due to a possible E. coli contamination. Some of these products may already be in the hands of restaurants. Find the details below. And as always, I'll leave a list of all these articles down below in the description, including those 2 videos that I highly recommend you watching. As we all can agree, a recall, no good. And we want to be aware of those, especially concerning when recalled items have already been distributed to restaurants. That's exactly the case with the nearly 2,000 pounds of fresh ground beef. And if you made it this far, I'll give you a couple other tips on recent recalls. We've got other recalls related to listeria from frozen vegetables from Kroger. I wouldn't trust Kroger. And kiwis. Staying up to date on Nestle cookie dough is being pulled from grocery stores due to wood pieces in it. I wouldn't trust Nestle. A couple tidbits from viewers. Cook your meat to at least 165. People, get meat thermometers. They have them at the dollar stores. If you're eating out and you're eating red ground beef, stop it. Wash your vegetables, including lettuce. I know it's time consuming, but the health is more important. Also, don't crack the eggs if you see fecal matter on the outside because it's not dirt. Throw that away or make sure you wash it real good. Faith Powerful says that speaks volume at how screwed our country is. So much contamination going on now that we can't even keep up. And that's a common comment that I'm hearing over and over, especially when people call in to get safe consumer goods from us. People are saying it's getting absolutely nuts out there. They go to the grocery store, they don't even know what to buy. They look at the labels, they see all the stuff that we've showed them is not good for you. You wonder why everyone's getting fat and sick. I have friends that come over from the Europe area because, you know, their ingredients lists are half the size as our ingredients lists on the same exact food products. Every single one of them tells me they either get sick after eating the food over here or they go back gaining an extra 10 pounds or so. Sadly, as much as we don't want to have to take the time to do the extra work to make sure what we're eating, what we're using in our homes is safe, if you don't these days, it's gonna cost you. And I mean your health. Please share this out if you guys found it informative. As I know more, I'll keep you guys posted. Keep prepping, keep learning, keep doing. We'll see you on the next one.